Yeah, I mean, same here. Packing light.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Rock, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby! To the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
What up, though? This is a Thursday edition of Knockouts and Three Counts. As you can see, I'm riding solo on the hosting end today. J-Bone caught the bug. Corey's out riding roller coasters, but we've got plenty of company with us as we've got 2/3 of the Southern Six making their debut on the show. We've got Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor. Gentlemen, I appreciate the time.
Yeah, baby, the Six is here. That's all you need.
Hey,
That's
man.
right,
We're going to have a damn good time, man. Anybody who's new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you guys didn't get to check out yesterday's episode, shout out to Ruthie J as she goes for the Women's Championship this weekend against Kenzie Page. We talked all about that last night, Corey and I, before he headed out to Ohio, which is where you guys are going to be headed this weekend. And like you guys said, with the Southern Six, I mean, I'm covered for as far as making this an entertaining episode. So let's start there. Tell me how the Southern Six came to be, man.
Well, I mean, we got three good brothers all from the great state of Tennessee. We find ourselves on this godforsaken island they call Australia, right? So in the
world is a vampire tour, right?
Oh, yeah. In the back of a tour bus, the biggest man who ever lived, Thrillbilly Silas Mason, I think he pulled us together and he said, boys, we got to ride together. We got to die together. We got to run this thing. And we've been running it ever since.
That's right. That's right, AT. We have been running it ever since. Southern Six has made plenty of towns. AT himself has beaten a world champion. So what is there not to do necessarily? We could sit here all day and talk about how great we are, but the fans already know that.
I do have a pinfall victory over EC3, the world's heavyweight champion. So we'll put that out there.
Put that out there right now.
Doesn't want to acknowledge it. No one wants to acknowledge it, it seems like, but
well, let's talk about it. EC3 happens to be a past guest of the show, you know. I mean, actually, the last time he was on the show was when he was actually getting ready to face Silas for that national title. So, with that being said, man, you guys have already made quite the impact. You guys had an open challenge headed into Samhain. You guys are going to be facing the Headbangers, but I mean, Kerry, everybody knows what you were doing with the junior heavyweight championship. I know you've moved up to heavyweight. With you guys going back to tag team wrestling here, I mean, how has it been for you coming back to tag team wrestling, coming over from having that junior heavyweight championship run?
You know, it's been magnificent to say the least. You know, unfortunately, when one door closes, another door opens, and that's very fortunate for me to tag on with my boys, my brothers. That's Big Thrilly and Big AT. We're tearing the scene up right now. We run the National Wrestling Alliance. We don't have to have a championship to define our odds necessarily. I feel a little lonesome at times not having that championship that belt necessarily around my waist or up around my shoulder, but it's okay to feel lonesome. That's how you gotta grow. You gotta cave in a little, make an itch for yourself, and that's what AT and I are doing. You know, We've beaten a lot of tag teams in the National Wrestling Alliance. We are not taken lightly. And then, quite frankly, all the big brothers in the back want to talk about the Southern Six because they can't get themselves over. And they know when we're over because, wink, wink, we're over, man. So, you know, what is there to say necessarily? You know, I love tagging with AT. This weekend's just going to be the same. Have a hell of a match stipulation up for game, to say the least. I don't necessarily know how to describe this. Just the office kind of told us to be prepared, and that's what we are. We're prepared. We're ready to go.
AT, do you have any designs on what this stipulation is going to entail for you guys this Saturday? I was checking out some of the interviews you guys have been doing leading up to it, and I mean, I've never heard of a rock and roll tag team rules match. So, I mean, are we going to be pulling out Les Pauls? Are we going to be pulling out drum sets? What do you think we're going to see come Samhain?
It's up in the air right now, man. I don't know. They don't want to tell me nothing. See, the thing is, me and Kerry, we don't have to be tagging right now. We're doing this because we're bored. I mean, Kerry Morton, he's a future world's champion. Thrillbilly is a future world's champion. I got that 10 pounds in my future too. Hell,
Damn
I could
right.
cut some weight. I could win that junior heavyweight title.
Damn right.
We look at this tag team division right now. It's laughable. BFT. I mean, you got guys out here. We're going to take those tag belts eventually if we want to. So right now we're just killing time.
That's right. Exactly, AT. We're just killing time. And as you know over there in Detroit necessarily, you're seeing these boys make a way for themselves. We're just making some room. And you know who wants to edge off their back and get some fame off their belt? It's the Headbangers. They want to get some clout. All right. They want to get some clout off the Southern Six. And it's okay because we're generous enough to give them some clout.
And that's the point right there. We put out this open challenge and not a single tag team on our roster stepped up. All those cowards, they hid. They want to talk their shit about the Southern Six, but when it comes time to nut up, they shut up.
Damn right.
We got these guys. Respect to the Headbangers, but they haven't been relevant since the 1900s. So they want to come into our house. They want to get a little shine. They want one more day in the sun off the Southern Six back. Well, they're going to get their day in the sun, but they're going to burn out because we're hot.
Damn right, AT.
That brings up a good enough question in and of itself. You know, with having the tag team title match that you've got this weekend at Samhain, you know, I mean, if you guys go out here and look impressive against a team like the Headbangers, who are also former NWA tag team champions, I mean, that puts you guys in the catbird seat to be, I don't know, looking at the tag gold. I mean, then you got Silas with the national title, then you guys got the tag titles, and then you can go get that world title like you were talking about, Kerry, or AT, you take a crack at it. Do you guys got a preference out of this weekend's tag title match, who you guys would rather face, and who do you think is going to win?
That's a good question, necessarily. You know, I think we have a stoked weekend, to say the least. A really big card for NWA Samhain. I'm looking forward to genuinely is Daisy Kill and Talos versus Kratos and Odison. I think it's going to be a hard-hitting match if those boys can hang necessarily. So I'm looking forward to the outcome. You know, that's for the United States Tag Team belts. That's a big belt. Those belts weren't relevant for a while. They're still not relevant. So I'm hoping they can be relevant here soon necessarily. And then you got, you know, obviously the main event, which is going to be BFT versus Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox. I think it's going to be a hell of a match, a brawl to say the least necessarily. One to give the fans their money's worth, if not the Southern Sixes to give them their money's worth already. So, you know, a really good, really stacked outcome to say the least. I could go on to talk about these guys and what they're going to do, but necessarily at the end of the day, we know what we need to do. We're going to show up. We're going to do business. We're going to have fun doing business. And then we're going to proceed our way. You know, we're going to see what comes the next weekend, November the 4th in Nashville, Tennessee, as NWA tapings start back up for the 16th season. And we got our eyes on the gold. So that's what we're going to go after, presumably.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, man, I could care less who wins those matches. BFT, I don't trust nobody in masks. I think Carnage is afraid of me. Brother would piss his pants if I line up across the ring from him.
Damn right.
As far as Knox and Murdoch, listen, hey, those Southern Six type of brothers, all right, I got mad respect for them, but they don't want these problems either.
No, they don't want these problems. Here's the thing, and I don't think you necessarily understand this, host, is we roll together. When we say that, we mean that. We hit each other hard. We play, we have this tight unit necessarily. And it's not one to mess around with. And the boys in the locker room understand that necessarily. And they kind of keep us to our own. And so, you know, to say the least, here I am watching AT do some tricks, you know, with his nose, which is pretty great. But to say the least, this is what we're about necessarily, is we're having a good time. We're doing what we need to do. We're putting over the NWA. We signed an elusive TV deal, to say the least, in the foreseeable future. So you'll see the Southern Six on national television. Wink, wink, necessarily. Can't mention any names. So we're having a good time. You know, to carry on. Sorry I got off your question. No,
you're all good. You're all good, my man. That's the thing. Our vibe is always a chill one. We're gonna go inside and outside wrestling. With that said, you went right into another one of the questions I had. With everybody, all the talk about NWA and getting them a TV deal and all those things, what do you guys, for both of you guys, what do you think that the NWA presents that's going to be different to help them stand out now that they'll hopefully have a bigger platform now that they have a TV deal?
Well, first off, Billy Corgan, you're welcome for that TV deal. You can thank the Southern Six by paying us even more.
Sure.
I mean, the world, they're not ready for us. I mean, I don't know how what's understood doesn't have to be explained. The Southern Six, we grew up on the Southern style.
That's right.
What we bring to the world.
Southern wrestling is what we pride ourselves in, and that's something that Billy Corgan understands. Is he values us young wrestlers, unlike a lot of these other TV shows. Not going to say any names necessarily, but you watch wrestling on a weekly basis, you probably understand. There's already a lot of established stars coming in. For the National Wrestling Alliance, he is trying to build us new stars and put his money where his mouth is, and that's in young talent that's hungry and eager and ready to make a name for themselves and ready to climb that tower. And that's what we're willing to do. We're willing to scratch and claw to be on top, and that's something that he sees in us, and he's anxious about necessarily. So that's something you're going to expect come TV time. When that red camera's on, we're on, and that's how we roll necessarily. And when that red camera's off, we're still on. We don't
get it wrong, baby. Don't think for a second every wrestling company in the world hasn't called Kerry Morton, hasn't called Thrillbilly, hasn't called myself. We stayed here for a reason.
That's right. We have stayed here for a reason. We even signed to some contracts necessarily to stay here for a reason. And that's something we're stoked about. So, come TV deal. It's going to be a big thing necessarily. I can't go on and mention more of it because I don't know the details. But to say the least, necessarily is Southern Six is going nowhere. We're here together. We're a good
Just
unit.
to the
We're
top,
established.
baby.
Only to the top is where we're going to go. As you see behind me, let's see. You see me here behind me? I'm going to paint over the four horsemen behind me. They're always on top. That's what the Southern Six is. We're on top necessarily. I look at these boys every day because they now look down upon us. And they're like, damn, we wish we were high Southern Six. So that's all you have right there. That's all I got for you.
Hey, that led right into something I wanted to ask you guys. Obviously, AT, before you came to NWA, that was where I first got to see you. One of the questions we got from a lot of our listeners is wanting to know a little bit more about how you got into wrestling. But this question I have kind of pertains more so to the Southern Six. But, I get, you talk about the Four Horsemen, but I get Freebird vibes from you guys. Is there any influence for you guys from the Freebirds, as we've had Miranda Gordy, the Queen of Bad Street, on here as well? So I don't know. I just get Freebird vibes from you guys. Is there any influence from them for you guys?
Oh, tons of influence, man. Love the Freebirds. Some of the guys I've watched the most of in the last few years, actually, and especially with Big Thrill. I know he gets the Gordy comparisons all the time.
How can you not, dude? I mean, in another life, you could totally see them like they were related. So
you could almost cast Thrillbilly in a movie as Terry Gordy.
That's a good
point.
Like,
like that one, like the Iron Claw, that's coming out, man. Like I said, that I can't wait to see that, man. Obviously it was way before my time, but dude, it's one thing that I've loved to go back and watch. And obviously, like I mentioned, having Miranda on there, it's definitely something that I've gone back and checked out a lot of. But that's why, like I said, in doing my research, getting ready for it, like I said, that was just like the first thing that jumped out off the page to me was Freebird vibes, and it totally would make all the sense in the world. We talk about the Thrillbilly. What do you guys think about his match this weekend at NWA Samhain? How do you think it plays out?
I think Chris Adonis is washed. I think Thrillbilly's going to wipe the floor with him. Easy work.
Yeah,
still national champion.
Right there. You know what Chris Adonis has to do? He has to bury the Southern Six to try to get himself over again. Simple. He goes online. He cuts some cheap promo. He doesn't put over the Southern Six. He puts over how we look like we're in our preteens necessarily. When what was the last thing he ever did, huh?
I'm a grown man, baby.
I'm a grown ass man, Daddy. I like Chris. I genuinely do. But I don't think he knows what he signed up for come this weekend with an ass whooping that's going to be handed to him from Thrillbilly. And that's not a joke. It's not a game. That's me being straight as hell. We are in the professional wrestling business. We are in the entertainment business. But when you step in the ring with someone like Thrill and you have that type of energy, just expect an ass whooping and nothing less necessarily. Or expect to as hard as you're going to hit, just expect to get hit harder. And that's something I don't think Chris Adonis understands and realizes, to say the least. So, he has another thing coming for us. And mind you, we have Rock and Roll in our corner. Who's to say that Rock and Roll is not going to be in Thrill's corner, representing the Southern Six as well? Although Thrill may not need the extra hand. Who's to say? That at the end of the day, that's the way we're going. Is we have each other's back. If a dilemma and a situation were to come up, then we know what to do and to cover for one another. So with that being said, I genuinely just don't think Chris Adonis knows what he signed up for. And come this weekend, he's going to find out.
Let me spoil it for all your fans right now. Thrill Ride 1, 2, 3.
I mean,
That's
there
it.
you got it. You got the finish there. If you're a betting man, you know which way to go. AT, you brought it up talking about the fans of the show. Like I said, one of the things that everybody wanted to talk about was tell us a little bit more about how you got into wrestling. And obviously we've talked about Southern Six and all those things. But like I said, I first came hip to you from NWA, and a lot of our listeners wanted to learn a little bit of the backstory to Alex Taylor.
Well, brother, give you the short Cliff Notes version.
Yes, sir.
High school football standout.
That's right.
I go to college, try and walk on. Turns out you got to go to class and make good grades to play football. So I dropped out, moved to Davenport, Iowa, trained with Seth Rollins and Merrick Brave, moved back to Tennessee, and I've been running wild ever since.
That's right.
So you are not the first that we've had on the show that was trained by him. Zicky Dice has also had those names come up. We've also had our own Travis Titan. Shout out to him. Hope he heals up soon.
Titan.
Yeah, man. Travis Titan's our guy. Hopefully he heals up soon dealing with the stomach stuff. So with all that said, man, you got to tell me, are you a CrossFit guy too?
For those 3 months I was, but
so I've done a couple of those workouts with Seth, WrestleMania weekends and stuff like that, dude, and it kicked my ass. So I had to ask if you kept up with it because I've boxed since I was 13. I have a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and I still lift today. But like, dude, CrossFit is a whole nother fucking animal because to keep up with the time and all that and to be able to do all the different movements that come with it, that shit is an animal.
it's wild, man. And back when I came back home, I wasn't making money like I'm making money now. And those CrossFit gyms want like $200 a month. And I was like, I'm going to stick with my bodybuilding for $30 a month.
I feel that. I feel that. I'm at the Crunch Fitness these days myself, so I feel that when you're talking about these MMA gyms and all those things. Before I ask you about an MMA question, actually, shout out to our sponsor, Potter's Tree Service. If you need anything cleaned up, storm cleaned up, tree trimming, weed wagging, all that stuff, cleaning up, storm cleanup, check out Potter's Tree Service. The links to all that stuff are in the description. Tell them Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. But with that said, do you guys get down with MMA at all? Like I said, we're also a combat sports show. Do you guys watch the fights at all?
We do. Yeah, I do occasionally when I get the chance. Unfortunately, time is not my friend these days. Especially at night. I'm kind of an old man. I go to bed early when I'm not partying on the weekends and up early necessarily. But with that being said, I do. I enjoy from time to time to kind of watch some fights. I don't necessarily know, all the names, quote unquote. If you're wondering about the sunglasses, I wear my sunglasses inside, so that's all I got to say. But
Future's so bright.
That's right. Future's so bright. Gotta wear some shades, baby. Woo!
Gotta love it, dude.
AT's more of a fight man. I can talk the game and kind of re-up on him, but he's in the fight game as well.
Yeah, I'm a very casual fan these days. I just don't have time to keep up with like I used to. I listened to Dan Henderson on Joe Rogan the other day,
Yes,
and that
sir.
really brought me back because I love Dan Henderson. But
That's right.
yeah, I got a big Volkanovski fan. I hated to see what happened to him.
I was gonna say. So, what did you think? Do you attribute that just to the short notice of that fight?
Got to be, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
It was tough, dude, because you got to respect it for Volk. What was hard for me was hearing, I don't know if you caught any of what he said after the fight and how he felt. He said how he felt like he had to take the fight. Like, it was just like, damn, you almost just felt bad for him. Not that anybody was cutting his arm off, you know what I mean? But he was like,
what
I
was
just
the
feel.
reason why did he take the fight?
And I can kind of relate to that because if I go a couple weeks and I don't have a wrestling show, I'm stirring. I don't know what to do.
I get it.
So his reasoning was, he said he felt like when he wasn't in camp or training for a fight or having something like that, he said he was just twitching at home, and he felt like because he knows he only has so much time to be able to do this, he said, I want to do everything while I can. He goes, and I feel at my best and my sharpest when I'm in a camp. So he said after the way the last fight went, he said, I had to get me another shot back at him. And it was just sad to watch because he kind of was like tearing up as he said it too. And I can respect it having fought before myself, but it's like, man, it's just, it takes you a little bit into that mental side of it. Shout out to Millions, who we are also streaming on today. Shout out to them. They just picked us up a couple weeks ago. You know, we talk about this stuff all the time, but I feel like you just mentioned it too, AT, like the mental side of wrestling. Kerry, for you, man, can you talk a little bit about that? Like the mindset you got to be able to keep yourself in, when you're going from show to show to show and just being able to keep yourself sharp like that. Cause I'd imagine that's got to be a lot of the same for you. Yeah.
I mean, most definitely, man, it's a mental game. It's what professional wrestling is. I mean, obviously it's very physical and grueling, but I look at it as I get paid to travel necessarily. Wrestling's the fun part. I like getting my ass kicked or kicking others' asses necessarily. I like getting hit and so on. But, the hardest part is the travel and the grind and preparing for that necessarily. Up and down. You're on the road. I'm on the road, 3 times, usually 3 nights out of the week, every week. This week has been a little light. I'll go on the road tomorrow, and I'll be out on the road for 3 days essentially. So, with that comes up and down, you got to take care of your body. Big time vitamin guy. I'm a big time believer in trying to nourish your body in the possible way that you can do. Kind of this week particularly, just kind of coming down with some sicknesses or something like that, some sinus infections.
But everybody is, me too, dog.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You got to continue.
You got to wrap it up, Kerry. Don't be getting sick.
No, I ain't sick, brother. That's why I wear my sunglasses inside. I'm not sick, Daddy. I promise you. Assure you that. So where I'm getting at necessarily is very mental. The other 2 days ago or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. I'm a little tired. I was in the airport for like 15 hours out of the day, which is just grueling for a body. Can't necessarily leave. Don't know the environment you're at. Trying to work out, trying to just keep your mind, your focus, and not estranged from anything else. It's tough. It's really tough to say the least. So, at the end of the day, it's grueling. It's mental. It's challenging, but I wouldn't change it for anything. That's the life we live and the life that we like to roll. So that's what you kind of have to move along with and do.
Oh yeah. And talking about time off, like Australia, when I had this incident with my shoulder, if you can see my collarbone still sticking out, I tear that. I don't wrestle for 6 weeks. I didn't come back till the Crockett Cup, and I came back way too soon. But it's just 6 weeks if I can't work out. I can't do. I'm going to the gym every day and walking on the treadmill because I got to get my mind on something.
Right.
So I can totally understand where Volk was coming from about just doing your head in and not having your goal in front of you.
I can totally see it. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's what's interesting, getting to go back and forth between having wrestlers and fighters and all those things. And I get to do commentary for some of these fights. Like, we had a situation where the last fights I just got to call here, a good buddy of ours and a past guest of the show, Austin Bashi, who's probably on his way to the UFC. We had another guy named Askar, who was also supposed to be fighting in the UFC. So you basically had 2 top prospects that are kind of like right on that cusp coming in here to fight to get that last good fight before you go into the UFC. And man, Austin's only 21 years old. So this kid, Askar, is about my age, about 30. And so he's just thinking he's going to blow through this kid, loses this fight. Now he's got to go back down the rung. And it's just crazy how you can go from the highest of highs and having to keep yourself there. And especially like you talked about, having an injury and being able to keep yourself going. Because I mean, a lot of times when you're in the middle of a match, if you can, most of the time guys keep going and stuff of that sort. So that's one of my favorite parts with the show, talking wrestling and MMA. But Kerry, talking about legacies and things of that nature, like I mentioned when we were talking about the show, your pops happens to be a past guest of the show as well. So talking about NWA Samhain, you can't talk about NWA without talking about the Rock and Roll Express, man. I've heard you talk about Bobby Eaton, and we all know the rivalry with them and the Midnight Express, man. So tell me, with you being an NWA now, and like you said, wanting to not only get these tag straps, but aspiring to that world title, tell me, what's it like for you to be wrestling in the NWA? And do you feel any sense of wanting to kind of, forge your own legacy, or do you feel any pressure following in your dad's footsteps?
No, that's a good question. No pressure. No, not necessarily. I'm doing my own thing. I'm my own man. I make my own decisions. So, I'm very fortunate to be a part of the National Wrestling Alliance. I will say that wholeheartedly. I like the NWA. I like what we stand for. Professional wrestling at its finest, necessarily. From time to time, when you have the right people in the ring. So with that being said, I love being here and being a part of this company necessarily, and continuing to grow and continuing to move and have this young generation to go on. That's why I extended my contract recently. Alongside AT, we'll probably be extending his contract here soon too. So, that's something that we like to do. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Daddy. Right there with you.
Bentleys and Benjamins, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, maybe, occasionally one day, necessarily. We like to have fun.
Silverados and silver dollars.
Yeah,
those work too.
That's right. So, I'm, my dad's with me. That's something. It's a blessing. Dad's with us at the Southern Six. He kind of supports our motto and our role and how we move. So, it's a legacy wrestler. You're always kind of pictured into that. So it's making my own name, making my own self, being my own man in this occasion. So, there's not much to say. I can't really tie on to even more, but where I'm going at is, no pressure. I'm sorry, I'm kind of brain fogged at the moment, but
you're all good,
no
my
pressure,
man.
to say the least. I love.
You're all good. I get where you're going with it. You want to forge your own trail. You want to blaze your own path. I get it. I get it.
I'm running a circle right now upstairs, but kind of got hit in cheerleading earlier this week, so kind of running around in circles a little. But
it's all good.
It's
anyhow, you see a lot of second generation guys in this game. They come in, they expect the world to be handed to them, and honestly, they're the shits. Yeah, right. And I didn't know how to feel about Kerry when I first met him. He's a young kid. His father's Ricky Morton. I'm trying to feel him out. Kerry earned my respect back in February. I had a shot at the junior heavyweight strap in Tampa. The match, it was back and forth. It was a close one. A lot of outside things going on with Danny Deals and Ricky Morton. No excuses here, but Kerry got the better of me. And, hey, brother earned my respect that night. And who knows, maybe Kerry will win that world title. I'll win that world title. Maybe we'll go at it again, but it's all love there.
That's all love. It's all love. Even with Thrillbilly as well, it's all love necessarily. We all have to aspire to the same goals.
It's all business in the end, Daddy.
It's all business in the end. We all want to be the face of the National Wrestling Alliance. We all want to be the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And along that, there's accolades that we want to accomplish doing so. So it's all love, and it's remote necessarily when you get up there. Sometimes you gotta play that mental game, and you gotta have that flow necessarily and that movement. But it's all love. I'm right there with you. I couldn't agree more. It's kind of cool where we're kind of tied up into and the ways we're going necessarily.
So we also like to get into some of the stuff outside of the ring as well. I was checking out your interview with my buddy, the Wrestling Classic, earlier before I got ready for this.
Yeah.
One of the things that really stuck out to me with that one was talking about you working in marketing, man, having your marketing degree and stuff like that, like having a fallback and things like that, and having something outside of wrestling. Not that wrestling isn't going well, but that's one thing, I'm sure with you having your dad in the business, we always hear a lot of people talk about, like, having a plan B, having something for you to fall back on. Talk to me a little bit about that. That was something that really kind of stuck out for me.
Yeah, no, I am a firm believer in having a backup plan. At the end of the day, is wrestling could be over for me tomorrow. I could wake up, can't perform anymore. I don't want to perform anymore. Vice versa. Cut from whatever I may be doing. So nothing, and this is something I learned real quickly in professional wrestling, and I hope others can take away from this that are listening, is nothing is ever guaranteed in this business. Nothing at all. It can be assured to you or promised to you, but it's never guaranteed. And that's something you got to take away and take with a grain of salt. And that's something I realized. I got into the marketing industry about 5 years ago, really thoroughly. I've made a great business. I sold my business. I now get to help out with other opportunities within marketing. With wrestling companies and sports entertainments and legacies and helping these actors and accolades necessarily. It's really cool. I had a really cool profession. I love it. It's a way to make extra income and also kind of use my degree where I go to school for right now to keep that growing. I kind of want the second. I'm not a guy that's the one to say put all your eggs in a basket because that basket could easily rip. And that's something that people's got to consider, is having that backup plan and having something to fall back on. That's why, I meet a lot of these wrestlers, and nothing onto AT or anything like that. I meet a lot of these wrestlers in today's age I'm 22, that are fresh out of high school, 18 years young, and are diving head first into professional wrestling. And that's something I admire and I love. And it's truly inspiring, but I don't think they know what they're getting themselves into. And, and I've been fortunate to travel up and down these roads for years and years and understand the grueling lifestyle of driving 500 miles to make $50 and maybe $50, maybe that, and driving back in your car and doing the same thing and busting your ass and getting on these flights and, being on the road continuous and training and not having family or friends back at home necessarily, or kind of being away from that environment, your comfort zone. So it's something that, I kind of tell people, hey man, just find a backup plan, find something that you can do, whether it be working virtually or from your phone, which I'm doing right now as we speak, as I'm doing a podcast. I'm still working my phone. I never stop. I wish I could. I really wish I could, genuinely. Fortunately, my mind doesn't work like that, and I never stop. So with that being said, it's something
Entrepreneur
I love.
mindset.
Right. It's fedora mindset, and that's kind of where I'm at with it too. And I hate it necessarily, but sometimes it makes my work ethic the way it is. So something I tell people all the time: don't necessarily throw all your eggs in a basket. And if you are, you got to be committed and you got to be willing to grind and do the drive, do the haul, and make the trip worth it.
Totally respect that, because our show, like I said, we've been around 7 years, but I work full time at the post office. So working 40 plus hours a week and doing this stuff and all that stuff. So I totally respect that entrepreneur mindset. AT, what about you, man? Outside of wrestling or before you come to wrestling, whatever you do when you're not thinking about wrestling?
I plan on dying in the ring, baby. I'm hoping maybe I can get a good beer sponsorship and they'll pay me. They can pay me in beer, and I'll do this till I die.
What kind are we going with?
I'm a Miller Lite guy myself, but honestly, anything cold and free, I'll take.
I was going to see if you were going to hit me with the Brock Lesnar. That's a Coors Light, not Bud Light, because they won't pay me. That's a Coors Light. Man, I'll never forget. I was there when he beat Randy Couture, and that was like the most.
It's a great promo.
Holy shit, dude. He didn't cut it in that fight, but I remember watching that, and everybody, when we were watching it, just stopped, was like, did he just? Yeah.
That was
did.
Frank Mir fight, right? The second one, yeah.
Yep. It was the second one when he won, because he came back and was so like amped up after he won. The crazy thing with the fight that I was at was, like, if you remember, that punch didn't even hit him clean. Like, it hit him like and grazed, and he just rolled. And I just remember that place was loud as shit chanting for Randy, Randy, Randy. And then it was like, as soon as he hit it, it was just this quiet. Just everybody shut the fuck up, man. And I saw his gloves in the lobby of the MGM Grand. Fucking A, dude. You could have fit 2 of my hands in there. The guy had 5XL gloves. I'm not trying to get hit by lunch pails. Fuck that. Man.
I know they always talked about Brock not being a good stand-up fighter, but if a monster like that hits you with anything, you're gonna feel it.
Dude, and could you imagine in bare knuckle now? Like, we have a lot of the bare knuckle FC fighters on there, and now that they've incorporated that you can fight in the clinch, like you've seen so many guys from the UFC go over there. We just had Dustin Peg on the show from the UFC, and he's going over there and doing so well. Now that you could use the clinch, I really wonder how Brock could do if you could think about him jacking a whizzer up and just being able to just uppercut the shit out of a guy. Like you said, I mean, he don't need to have these big, long bolo punches when you got a hand that's fucking this big.
Right. Good Lord.
Dude, that's fucking scary to think about. The other thing we got to talk about, and we talked a little bit about with Ruthie J yesterday, was what's going on for Halloween. How is the Southern Six getting down with Halloween? Do you guys like the haunted houses? Are you guys Halloween party when you have a chance? How you guys getting down Halloween-wise?
Baby, we're going to drink and dance all night.
Fuck yeah.
That's right. Saturday night's going to be a ball, necessarily. We all got fresh gear, as we always should, because we're fresh as ever. So you'll be seeing that debut on NWA Samhain, alongside with the cool looks, the good chicks, necessarily. There's it's good times rolling, and that's what we're about, necessarily. When it comes to the end of the game, that's what we're about. Is so going to look good, going to look smooth. Gonna have fun. Maybe attend a Halloween party. Might have some Halloween trick-or-treat candy necessarily. We don't necessarily know what's going to go on. But
fuck around and
dressing
find
up as
out.
my favorite wrestler, me.
Bet you it was a pretty cheap costume too, wasn't it?
It wasn't cheap,
that boy ain't cheap, Daddy.
And if you if you want to dress up like the Southern Six, you head over to National Wrestling Alliance/shop.com and get you this Southern Six tee.
That's
damn right.
Sharp.
Damn right.
Sharp ass shirt.
Hell yeah, man.
Sharp ass shirt.
Before we let you get out of here, something tells me you guys are going to have a really funny ass answer to this. So this is the great way to end the show. So we have a segment that we call it locker room etiquette, but it's not what you think it is. It's not trying to pick and find out all the back room secrets and all that stuff. Look, man, there's enough dirt sheets for all that shit. What we do this for is because we talk about either advice you would give somebody or pet peeves that you got that annoy you or piss you off in the locker room. Now, we've had everybody from NXT's Josh Briggs who said, bring your own wrist tape, bring your own squirt bottle. We've had keep your baby mama out the locker room, wash your balls, wash your gear. Silas Young said to always shut the fuck up and listen. Ninja Mac said always stay in the ring. We've gotten a wide list of them. Ruthie J agreed with keep your baby mama out the locker room too. But if it's the Southern Six, do you have anything to add to said list?
I got one. If you're going to come to the Southern Six and ask for advice, you bring a case of beer or a bottle of Jack Daniels. Other than that, don't come into the Six locker room asking for free advice because this shit ain't free. We ain't giving it out.
Yeah,
I agree with that, man. Wash your shit. Don't bring your barber into the locker room. Don't bring your lady in there. Don't be Rush Freeman. Like, be a good, decent wrestler if you're going to be in our locker room. Don't be an embarrassment to the company.
Yeah. To edge on that necessarily too is, listen, if you're going to ask for our advice and we're going to give you the advice, at least take it and not just acknowledge it and carry on with your day. If you're going to come to me and say, hey, what do you think of my match? And I give you my honest opinion, and then you get butthurt necessarily, then fuck off. You shouldn't have had my opinion in the first time necessarily. Excuse my mouth on your podcast.
You're all good, man.
At the end of the day is, it's a big thing. I love professional wrestling. Truly. I'm a wrestling historian. I like to say the least. I know a lot of wrestling. I watch wrestling constantly. You name it, I've probably watched it necessarily. So, I really respect someone that comes in the business and knows their history. And that's something I think that you should know when acknowledging or talking to us and trying to refer to things and not necessarily know the names of titles or the matches or the scenarios. Then that's a bunch of bullshit. I don't care for it. So, at least know knowledge and respect the elders that came before you, because that's something I'm kind of big about, is respecting the past and also forging your own. So, smell good etiquette, if you're going to say it with your chest and be bold, stop being someone that's going to sit behind the camera and hoping and granting for an opportunity. Go make an opportunity for yourself.
Because the thing is, right now we're running the game. So if you want to come up to us, you shake our hand like a man, you look me in the eyes and you introduce yourself. I hate this shit. A guy will come to you, he'll give you the jobber handshake, but he won't look you in the eyes. I don't know what that shit's about.
Hate that shit. Look me in the eye. You know what? Yeah. Hold your posture.
You would think that these things are just normal, like, etiquette, man. It's like, these are things that my dad was on me about from the time I was a kid, and especially growing up boxing. You can't, that's not exactly the place you come in being disrespectful, because you might get popped in the mouth. But with that said, man, Kerry, I know I said that was the last question, but you led into something that brought up a pretty funny one with Ruthie J yesterday. So I'll ask you as well. I feel like you're going to have a good answer to this. So we were talking to her. She said what it meant to her to be signed with the NWA, and she let us in that she's got to go back and check out her NWA. So with you being a historian, man, you got to tell me. Do you got an all-time favorite NWA match? That can be one of your Pops matches or anything you like to go back and check out.
Yeah, I think 1983, Harley Race versus Ric Flair, steel cage. What a beautiful match. Just storytelling necessarily. Ruthie J, she's young in this business. I don't expect her to know a lot, but she needs to go back and she needs to watch and acknowledge the past. I think that would make her promos a ton better. I think that would make her character more understanding that she knows what happened in the past. to lead into future Ruthie. I'm excited for her and what she's going to do in the National Wrestling Alliance. But I think with that comes tape study, comes study of the game and acknowledgement of the game and understanding what you're doing inside that ring. And it's not just the moves. It's the whole dilemma of putting this particular match together to make Ruthie J who Ruthie J needs to be. So, I'm not the one to tell her to go watch certain matches necessarily. I think she just needs to go on her own, study the women's division. I would say the early 2000s women's division in WWE was beautiful. Really etiquette, really delight to watch these women go out there and bust their
TNA
asses.
as well.
TNA, the knockouts. We had some knockouts in our locker room. Hopefully some knockouts making a return in the foreseeable future. So great advice. You got a lot of role models. You have Jazz backstage at NWA, and she is truly pound for pound one of the best in my vast, majority opinions that I ever come across. She is one of the top dogs. And so for Ruthie not to go up her and pick her brain all the time, I would be berserk because I would be talking her head off, asking questions and getting advice and what to do and what not to do. So, to each its own. That's something I just ask to acknowledge the past necessarily and understand when that conversation comes up that you could hold your own.
Yeah, she said she was going to go. She had wanted to go. She hadn't done it yet, but that was something she wanted to do now that she was with the NWA, was check out some of the older stuff. So I definitely had to ask that once you brought up the historian thing. Like you said, Jazz and her husband, Rodney Mack, wealth of knowledge there. So like I said, man, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the time. Let everybody know where they can find you guys. Check out NWA Samhain, which I didn't know that, which, oh my God, who in the hell would have thought that when you first read the name of that pay-per-view? Can I just say that?
I know it.
Samhain. Damn it. I still said it wrong, and I tried to say it the right way. Son of a bitch.
Hey, find AT and I on social media. I'm on Instagram at Real Kerry Morton. AT, plug your Instagram real quick, Daddy.
It's at AlexT902, Instagram and Twitter.
That's right. At AT, Real Kerry Morton on all socials. Find me there. Go drop a follow. Go drop a like. Go drop a comment necessarily. Comment your favorite match of all time underneath my recent post and AT's post. We'll check them out. We'll give you our opinion. That's how you support professional wrestlers in today's time is social media. It is the wave. It is where everything is going. I could go on to preach more about it, but, here I am to say, if you're listening, thanks for tuning in. Sorry, we're kind of a downward dog. Southern Six merch is available right now. That's right.
NationalWrestlingAlliance.com/shop, something like that.
That's
You'll
it.
find it.
You heard, man.
NWA.com/shop, the place to be. Go buy the #1 selling shirt of all NWA history for Lightning One era. That is the Southern Six shirt. We are hot because AT, get us out of here, Daddy.
I just wanted to say before we go, you give me and Kerry a time machine. You drop us off in 1998, we'd still kick the Headbangers' ass. Because when you're hot, you're hot. And when you're not,
you're not. Fuck around and find out.